surprised you're not asking someone else to, because Sarah normally plays.
Alright, folks, so we're back with Phoenix Wright. We're going to continue the story, and we're going to see if we can get past the third day of the trial today. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Who's going to be Maya, I guess?
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Maggie.
So, what did you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. It's true. We still haven't solved a single part of it yet.
Are you okay, Nick?
Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. I saw that! That little flash of doubt in your eyes! No, that wasn't doubt. That was, determination. Why don't I believe you?
Don't believe in me, believe in the me who believes in you.
What?
It's nearly time, Maggie. You'd better get going to the defendant's seat.
Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. Hey, pal! Hey, Detective Gumshoe. Quit stressing Maggie out! She doesn't need that! How did you know she was stressed?
Did you forget your food earlier?
Yes! I was watching through the doorway. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too? Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me that you don't remember this thing. Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles. This is the small bottle that turned up in Trebier's kitchen a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all these little bottles. Oh, they're aromatherapy oils. He's got so many, they're overflowing on the floor. Hey, wait a minute. There's one bottle that's different from all the others. Well, what do you know? And it doesn't have a label either. And it doesn't smell. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab. So, what was it? Is it the poison? I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication. Medication? Yeah, for ears. Topical use only. Apparently. For ears. Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elg was using for his ruptured eardrum. What was Glenn Elg's ear medicine doing in the kitchen? Small bottle refiled into the corner. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Someone screwed up, so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but going to weaken its impact as a piece of evidence. Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today, got it? Today's trial. I'm gonna expose that guy for what he's done, or my name isn't Phoenix Wright. It is Phoenix Wright, right?
Right.
Wrong! Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Very good. Then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems. The mark on the rim of the cup shows that the victim drank from it with his right hand. But according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Godot. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet, the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? Ha! Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You've lost me already, Mr. Godot. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. It's one of my rules. Are you implying that you've resolved these contradictions? You know the answers to these riddles? The only guy wasn't just throwing seed in there. He was throwing us off the scent. And today I'll prove it. Very well. Let the first witness take the stand. And you are? Oh, bonjour, everyone! I am Jean Armstrong, the owner of and head chef of La Tribulations restaurant. Enchanté! Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman? Ooh la la, monsieur! As you can see, I am le pert and perky gentleman, no? On the day of the incident, you were in Trebier's kitchen. Isn't that right? With you, monsieur? Everything feels right. Ah! Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy? Very well. Your testimony, please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Trebier. Oui, volontiers. Also, for all those who are watching, forgive me if I mispronounce a French word. It's been a long time since I've spoken any French whatsoever. When it all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new art decos that day. Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example. Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. The cup, the earpiece, and the glasses. He would have seen everything in reverse, no? Wait a minute. If that's the case, then everything would have been would be on his right side, but it's not. Mirror? Oui, a grand mirror. La most enormous mirror. And suddenly, the mystery disappears. I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it. That would explain the coffee cup and the eardrum conundrum, the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front. What the heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Yeah.
Objection!
The coffee cup, the earpiece, and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kudo's testimony for a second, shall we? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens on his specs. No question. You can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear, without a doubt. So, to summarize, We were both told the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw that as a reflection in a mirror, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side. Exactement, you see, monsieur. Now that you think about it, it is not so hard, no? Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. If Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror, why is it that the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head? Order, order. Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflected in the mirror, then he would have expected the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Objection!
How bitter. Trite. You should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm you down in no time. Are you talking about your coffee or something completely different?
You don't understand the way the witness thinks.
How he thinks?
You remember this, I presume.
The I broke the vase sorry apology Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony?
Exactly. The old man has one very grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And then what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg?
Clearly, it's the victim's eyepiece.
And that's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elg's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece with those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh yes, they were both on his left ear. They were both on his left ear. Do you hear me? His left ear. Ha! Well, Trite.
That's the worst but best impression of Kudo ever.
Wow, I really thought he was old seedy for a minute there. Godot's good.
Enough. I must agree with yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony.
Let's just say that food.
Toasty! Bad
Why?
luck,
What'd you
Nick.
make?
Looks like the boil of the contradiction you found was just a rash.
I'll be back. It'll be like half an hour.
A mirror cannot be beaten by a handful of
You'll be back
seeds,
in half
nor
an
can
hour.
it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears. Oui, I can explain. Please, if you will, look at La Plans à la Restaurant. The mirror. Alors, is everyone sitting comfortably? La mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves. Here is the only seat from which you could have seen an image of la victime. That was the seat at the table next to la victims. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so that it was not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else. I call BS on that, and I will explain that in just a moment. I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror. What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this. Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. I hate that guy. You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror? Are you quite sure about that? Volontiers, of course. Very well. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. Well, I can claim BS on that immediately. Because what was it that Victor Kudo said yesterday? In his hot and bothered state? he knocked over something important? De la hum.
Objection!
And of course, what is showing that piece of evidence? What is showing the thing that he knocked over? This piece of evidence contradicts with the testimony we have heard, Your Honor. The crime photo? Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist. What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? Should not exist? Ha! Sounds like you're describing yourself, Trite. Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo? The vase.
Take that!
I think it's pretty obvious that this is what should not be in this picture. The vase? What possible connection does that have to this witness's testimony? Your Honor, I'm telling you that there should have been no vase on this table. Because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. Letter. Lottery ticket.
Losing all my change. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
A victim's testimony. Here we go. Victor's testimony. When the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm sorry. There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection.
Don't be an idiot, Trite. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from. Exactly. There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribulations that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Monsieur!
Objection.
You just...
Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Objection!
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary, in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror. Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
Has he thrown another scalding hot coffee at someone yet?
Not yet. I was right. There's no mirror in the restaurant that day. In light of this revelation, we'll return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear? Ha! Chunk. You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim that the mirror wasn't there, Trite, this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? Answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you gonna be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction. What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up. Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer. Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all of the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. The victim was a phony. This case is riddled with contradictions. Yet, There is one very simple answer that clears them all up. And what is that? The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two complete different events. What? Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Order in the court. Settle down, or I'll clear the courtroom. Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh? What did you say?
Let me read the judge for now.
Alright. Trey, are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup? Yes. Someone pretended to be Glenn Elg and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection.
Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that? Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was... The serving girl brought him a cappuccino, and she put something in it. That's the serving girl, right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well.
It's so hard to believe, but
There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Objection.
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but... It's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening.
he looks very nervous. That's right. Well, witness. Your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics. You would have known about it, correct?
Oh, ooh la la! This is most difficult for me. No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath after all. Was there, in fact, a phony at Tribulations that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened.
Defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day.
We. Woohoo! Just Phoenix is in the corner. Yes! Finally, someone.
Honestly, you're obviously doing this correct the whole way without messing around.
Everything's coming up, Phoenix. La victim, Monsieur Elg, he came to the restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won the lottery, Elg became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes after that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for a phony to do la acting.
Of course there is. Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all.
Je vous demande pardon. Forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly.
What you have just done is committed perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I will decide how to punish you later. Just gonna say, he looks like... I could picture him all of a sudden going... and sparkling.
Oui, if you are going to punish me, Your Honor, please let it be with chains and whips. I mean, what?
For now, we will hear your cross-examination. Mr. Wright, if you please. La la.
He took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination.
You're darn right he's going to be.
There's one thing that I found that was kind of interesting.
Are you looking your stuff up or just doing it as if?
I already looked it up. I remember the old man arrived not long after him.
Hold it!
By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct? Oui, he comes often for the special coffee. I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience.
Ouch! So hot. Oh, what a
Oh,
roast.
you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime. I said it was worth one sip, and nothing more. So old Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. What time was it? Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived? Oh no, I cannot remember, monsieur.
I believe we were told by a witness yesterday.
The crime was reported at 2:25 p.m. by the kind of scary old man, sir.
Does that perhaps jog your memory, witness?
The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived. So the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 2:10 p.m., no? Just after 2, huh? Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful.
Ha ha ha. I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? Time of day will be added to the witness's testimony. Ha 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 ha.
Oui, Monsieur Judge. Everything I do it for you.
Enough, Mr. Armstrong. Merci bien. That's French, isn't it? Ha ha ha.
I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood. He's even humming a song to himself.
I would totally slap that judge.
I remember the old man arrived not long after him, just after 2 p.m. Hold on. Hold on, where is it? Experience the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life every Monday at 1:30 p.m. He was listening to that lottery.
Yeah.
So, if the old man arrived after 2 p.m., just after 2 p.m.,
Present it.
there is a half an hour contradiction.
Objection!
At least a half an hour contradiction, or
I don't
at
have
least 20
headphones,
minutes.
so I can't judge. Blech.
I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong. Quoi? What do you mean? At the time in question,
funky.
very. At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with
has no volume.
with his earpiece. You sure? 'Cause
Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, there was no music, that's why.
the show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week, they announced the winning numbers on the $500,000 lottery ticket. Oui, that must be the show Monsieur Elg was listening to.
I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright.
I wonder. You say the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 p.m., correct? Oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time, because I had just finished serving the lunch menu. Get to the point, Trite, if you have one. That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m., and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life.
It's on the air at 1:30?
Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy would have occurred after 2 p.m. Because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time. No! This victim would have been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum. Catching a show that was already over. There is only one conclusion I can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter, acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were two Glenn Elgs in Tribulations that day. The real Glenn Elg, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer. And the phony Glenn Elg, acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
Objection.
Quite a performance, Trite. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song. What is this, Music Theory 101? Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony elk is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain, then, where the real Glen Elk is? I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court, however. At that time, the real Glen Elk was already dead.
That's certainly the obvious conclusion.
Objection.
Where's the body?
Thank you, Trite. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. What? Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours.
Ouch.
Can you explain where the missing corpse went to? The missing corpse? According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elk, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim?
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty easy.
Do you know where he is already?
Yeah, I do.
The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body?
Yes, Your Honor. No conjecture, Trite. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden. Evidence? What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden? Thought I had him with that contradiction. But he's turned it all around and backed me into a corner instead.
Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defense's theory and evidence. First, where was the body of the real Mr. Elk concealed?
It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Tribulations.
Interesting. But where could a body have been hidden inside a restaurant? Easy, meat freezer. Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. The exact location where the body was concealed inside Tribulations is, you're not that far off.
Take that!
The body was hidden here.
I see.
Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location? Since it was in the kitchen, we found something that was in the kitchen.
Take that!
Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle? No, no. I have never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use the very best bottles, monsieur. The bright, the highest quality only for me.
Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright?
Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Tribulations. Eh? Quoi? But I only ever see these bottles from my aromatherapy oils. But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication.
What kind of medication?
I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elg visited an otolaryngological clinic. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm terrible with that sort of stuff. And was given medication. I wouldn't know how to
pronounce it either.
You can't be serious. The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have the lab results here. The contents of the bottle matched the prescription that was given to Mr. Elg. Blar! Glen Elg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen? Mon Dieu! Yes, you know what I'm talking about, what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, you were setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back! No!
Order! Order! This is an extraordinary development. Witness, did you murder Mr. Glenn Eld?
Never! I could not do such an horrible thing!
No! But Mr. Godot?
The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules. Do you have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now? Then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. I'd like to take them down with my empty cup.
Uh-oh!
Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear? My H-deficient friend. Je vous demande pardon. Please, you must hear me out. It is a trap. It's a trap. Listen to me, por favor.
That is not French.
Yo hablo español.
Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong, and por favor is Spanish. The judge just said I speak Spanish. It's like, ooh.
I'm only going to ask you once. Did you do it? No, absolutely no. Let's hear it. You've got one shot, right, Gramps?
Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement.
Dun dun dun.
It will be your last. You lie under oath again, Mr. Oh, that's just hilarious. Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you, as does my gavel.
Oui, it is clear.
He likes taking it, doesn't he?
What do they always say in the movies? I've got a bad feeling about this.
Very well. Begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong.
Alright, now this one's actually a pretty simple one.
So what are you gonna screw him over with?
It is true. I hid the body in the kitchen. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. I had to go along with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse.
Because you're not actually French.
But I did not kill him. I swear it. You must believe me.
You were forced? By who?
I cannot say, or I will be erased. Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elk died, was he really the only person at his table? There was. There was another man.
It looks like you, Phoenix.
That's the point. I knew it. Maggie was telling the truth.
You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright.
There's just one more thing I need to do. I gotta break this guy and get him to tell us the name of the real killer.
Something tells me he's gonna point his finger at Phoenix.
Well, no. There actually is someone that we've met that fits the bill.
Not Shelly Tequila.
No. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. It is this man.
Objection!
Let's end this dance of Ring Around the Rosie, Mr. Armstrong. This is the man that you've been referring to. Ah!
Who is that? I feel like I've seen him somewhere before.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe a month ago in this very courtroom? That guy actually impersonated Phoenix Wright in court and got Maggie convicted of this very crime. This is a retrial of that crime. This man is Furio Tigre. He's the manager of a loan office called Tender Lender.
So how'd he manage to pull it? He's dark-skinned, got a scar over his eye, and got gray hair.
The court's an idiot. The court are a bunch of idiots.
Oh.
and plus the judge.
Except for Godot.
No, Godot wasn't the prosecutor. The prosecutor was Winston Payne. The very first guy, the one that just goes along with it. There's no point trying to hide the truth anymore, Mr. Armstrong. I know you couldn't go against Mr. Tigre. At least, not while he had this on you.
Take that!
A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. And you had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you. Oui, it is as you say. Mr. Armstrong, Le Tiger, he told me he was going to use my restaurant as a business rendezvous. On the day in question, he was meeting the victim to demand that he repay his loan. I don't know why it happens like that. I just did what he told me to do. I had no choice. I carried the body and the inconscient Maggie out of the dining area and into the kitchen. After that, I just had to forget what I'd seen. I think we can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre.
What a douche.
Really is. And we're going to deal with him.
In a new trial.
Nope. It's the next part.
I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poison and the lottery ticket that were found in the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well?
No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look like it was Maggie who had done it. I was not. It is despicable.
Despicable. Mr. Godot! You will summon this Furio Tigre as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we will adjourn for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow.
30 minutes.
What?
The trial will go on. I'll see to it myself. I need half an hour to get that guy on the stand. Not a minute more. How the... Don't sit back and relax yet, Trite. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way.
Very well. Your request is granted, Mr. Godot. We will resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Until then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess. Okay, I'm going to the washroom. I gotta go.
Alright, and now we're going to tackle part 2. So we're finally going to see the tiger on the stand. We've almost got this case won now, Nick. Wish I could agree. Huh? When I cross-examined Mr. Armstrong just now, he said he was just doing what the tiger told him to do. Godot picked up on that, remember? He pointed out that without proof, we don't know if what he testified is the truth. You mean, you think Mr. Armstrong was lying? I don't know. But if that's the line of the prosecution takes, we could be in trouble. It's the feeling that we don't have the case-making evidence we're being... Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe. What are you so jumpy about, Detective? Your hair's standing on end. Hey, that's the pot calling the kettle black, Miss Little Top Knot. It's not a top knot! Never mind about the hair. Just calm down, alright? I can't just sit still when I don't have a job to do. I kind of got loud. Ah! I'm kidding. You gotta have something you need me to do, pal. Anything! Well, hey,
I'm gonna take a jog back down to the precinct. I could get some prints analyzed for you if you got an hour. An hour? The court will have reconvened by then. But Nick, you still don't have any real decisive piece of evidence, right? True. Without some kind of trump card to pull out of the bag, we're really stuck. You said you could get some fingerprint analysis done in an hour? You bet! In that case, would you mind checking the prints on this for me?
Take that!
We're gonna miss.
Victim's ear medication that we found in the case. Look, it even says covered in unidentified fingerprints.
I don't know, if it
You're
was
right.
Sarah, I would go through with it. Maybe. If I knew she wasn't gonna hurt me in the process.
Oh, that. Sure. I'll see.
Answer them wrong.
Attention.
I tried sending him a message yesterday. Told me to message him.
This is pretty much the final showdown,
Right
I
after
guess.
you popped on, and then popped back off, he's like, if you need to talk to me on my phone thing. Try to direct message.
Alright, let's continue.
Court will now reconvene. Mr. Godot, did you find this Furio Tigre?
As his phone account. I don't think it has more deal.
I even tamed him for you.
Yeah.
It was a 3-cup job, no problem. Tamed him? The guy's name may be Furio Tigre, but come on.
No.
He's pretty lively. Careful, he still bites.
Very well. Please, show Mr. Tigre to the stand. Oh, I wish I could grab some of the cookies. Witness, please state your occupation.
Don't hide under the table, Maya. Unless there's room for me down there, too.
Would you mind?
What do you say to me?
Nothing. I didn't say nothing. Honest.
Could have guessed that fear would induce a bad Brooklyn accent in the judge. I got business to take care of, you hear me? So who the hell called me into this hole? Was it you, Spiky? No, of course not. It was the judge. Your Honor?
Oh dear. I seem to have dropped my pen. What? Where on earth is it? Don't mind me. Just carry on with the proceedings as normal.
That's it. We're doomed. Maybe you just didn't hear me. I said who the hell was it that called me in here? There's no need to shout. We can all hear you.
Hi, Godot.
What did you say? There's no point struggling. You're caught in a snare. The relentless snare of the law. And I'm the one that hauled you in. Too cool. Don't let him get the better of you, Nick!
Shut up, Maya.
Let's start with the basics. You know about the incident in question, correct? Incident? I don't know nothing about no stinking incident, masked boy! You mean you didn't attend the previous trial for Maggie Bird? Maggie who? I've got more important things to do than watch courtroom dramas!
Of course. Well, perhaps you could give us your testimony then. Get up, you friggin' knob! Please tell us about what you did on the day of the murder.
Phoenix Wright. You's the one who set this up, didn't you? You's gonna regret the day you ruffled the tiger's fur. You hear what I'm saying?
Bring it.
I should have brought a diaper with me today. Get a grip, Nick!
Shut up, Maya!
You're still under the desk!
I'm going to tear you to shreds in this courtroom, and then the cops are gonna haul you away, handcuffs.
I don't know nothing about no murder. I was tied up with business in December last year. Spent all my time in my office. I got whales lined up to borrow cash from Tender Linda every single day. You just want to check my alibi and just ask Violetta.
Wow, that face there. At last I found my pen. Very well then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination.
Roar!
What is it? Please, witness, if you can refrain from shouting out like that.
I know the kind of games that guy in the blue plays. That lowlife ain't no lawyer. He just punches away at stupid details till he wins. Lowlife? Me? Listen up, Smarty. Every time you ask me something that doesn't relate to this case, I'm gonna bill you $50,000, and you's gonna borrow the cash from me. That's one long contract I refuse to sign. I don't think I ain't gonna hurt when you tangle with the tiger.
Bring it, punk.
Glug. Ha! I love a good spectator sport.
You're not helping! Just a minute, that's really not...
This witness is, how can I put it, a hungry tiger roaming the urban jungle. Get on his bad side, and he'll bite everyone's heads off. Yours too. I can tell, from that face, I can tell.
That's right, like, oh yeah, you want to see a taser? Stick you with a cattle prod, bub. We'll see who's talking.
It probably wouldn't even faze him.
No, he would. I'm sorry, but when a cattle prod can drop a 300-pound guy who's buff as that, like it's nothing, nah. Like, come here.
Yeah.
Very well, I have no choice but to impose a penalty system here. Judge, you're a coward. Stop it.
You's better be listening. I said I got business to take care of. Big business. If I don't split now, I ain't gonna catch my bus.
The court will impose a penalty for any irrelevant pressing of witness testimony. Keep that in mind as you begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright. So you gotta nail this on the head every time.
You can do it, Nick.
Shut up, Maya!
Come out from under there already, would you, Maya? Yeah, so it's as it says. If you press on any irrelevant testimony, you'll get penalized for it. Thankfully, I know what to press on.
Hold it!
Are you sure about that? We're talking about 1 month ago, you know. You see these teeth? That's how sharp my secretary is. Sharp? Is he talking about Viola Cadaverini? She writes everything in my scheduler. Scheduler? December, mainly in the office. That's what it says, so that's where I was.
That seems like a rather, sketchy schedule.
There he goes again. What the tiger did all December isn't the issue. What's important is what he was doing on the day of the murder. So now what? Press harder. Mr. Tigray, what do yous want? Wouldn't mind going into a little bit more detail.
Objection.
This is a dead end, Wright, and you know it. Remember the rules. No, it's essential that we establish the witness's alibi accurately. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't get up, I'll toss you out.
You still want to be judge?
I agree.
The victim was killed on December 3rd. Were you in the office that day too? Maybe yous ain't listening. Of course I was. I never set foot outside.
Ooh, crap.
I had meetings all day with a bunch of cats wanting to do business with me.
Yeah, you broke.
I ain't never seen that young kid before.
Well, how do you know he's a young kid if you never left the house, you dink? Hello. I do believe the witness's last statement was important.
Yeah, my headphones are warm.
Mr. Godot, if you could please, you're a dip and a dink.
Mr. Tigray, the court asks you to add that last statement to your testimony.
I feel the pain that you go through doing his voice. I do like doing his voice, though. It has this level of sophistication to it.
Could you move over to the left, please?
Don't let an animal beat you. Be a man, Your Honor, and ask him yourself.
That works.
The day you was talking about, I was in the office too. I never saw that kid before. His calendar begs to differ. I'm just making sure.
Too loud, too loud, too loud.
Mr. Tigre, you claim you didn't know that Mr. Glenn Elk, but it appears that Mr. Elg knew you. What? Mr. Elg left this little note on his calendar. Meet with the tiger. And the date? December 3rd.
The December 3rd? That's the day of the murder.
So, Mr. Tigre, I submit that you did indeed know one Mr. Glenn Elg. Because on the very day of the incident, you met with him.
Angry man in an orange suit.
Not bad. You's actually not bad. Sorry? I was just messing with yous to see how good you were.
Did you hear that, Nick? He said you were not bad.
That's one compliment I could do without. Plus, he's lying through his teeth.
Witness, please remember that you're under an oath. Lies will not be tolerated.
You's calling me a liar? Is that what you're doing?
Ruh-roh!
So you're saying that your claim to have never seen that kid before is the truth?
I said I'm dead serious. You's better believe that's the truth.
Oh, yeah. I think I know why and how he's going to argue that. He's like, yeah, we set up a meeting on the phone. I've never seen him, and we never got the meeting.
Well, we'll see.
That's what his argument's going to be, probably.
We'll see.
Then I'd say that gives me time to enjoy another cup of pure black magic.
Dude, I'm surprised you don't have diabetes or you're not having the runs yet.
Actually, once you drink coffee on a regular basis, your body tends to...
The sheer amount of coffee he's drinking?
No, seriously. It tends to compensate. Trust me. In fact, if you don't drink coffee once it compensates, the opposite happens. That is while you testify for the court again, Mr. Tigre.
Oh yes, would you mind indulging the court, witness?
He never...
Witness me!
He never actually met the victim? That's gotta be a lie right there. It's time to nail this guy. You probably need to buy him dinner first, bro.
I was gonna say.
And also, technically...
I'm easy, not cheap. Buy me dinner first.
I ain't no liar. I never met Glenn Elk. There was some lame guy with that name, though. Wanted to borrow cash from me. I set up a meeting with the guy. At my office, 10 to lender. I waited around for him, but he ain't never showed. I ain't never been to that Tribulations joint you hear. I beg to differ.
First of all, we never mentioned the name of the location.
Exactly.
There's also...
I see. That all seems perfectly logical. You had arranged to meet with the victim, but he didn't show up.
Funny, Judge, you don't have pointy ears. I've heard it's pretty hard to keep appointments when you're dead.
Not
Very
necessarily.
well, you may begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. Didn't I tell you I got a big deal going down today? I ain't gonna make my bus now. I'm gonna have to take the express train. That bill's going straight to you, right? The victim, Glenn Elk. There is a very clear contradiction here. Go to it. I ain't never been to that Tribulations joint you hear. Then explain how these matches were in your office. Mr. Tigre, isn't there something you'd like to tell the court about these matches? Matches? What are you talking about? We found them in your office at Tender Lender. They're from that restaurant. What? If you've really never been to Tribulations before, what was a book of the restaurant's matches doing on your desk? You've been snooping around in my stuff now too, wise guy? What are you, my ball and chain? Ain't no broad controlling me. He's very eloquent, isn't he?
Order! Order! Well, witness?
Cheeseburger!
I think it's time you started telling us the truth, don't you? And thanks, I can use one right now.
Rawr!
Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Forgive me.
I'll get you onion rings too, I'm sorry.
I ain't no pussycat. I don't go back on what I said.
You're making me
But,
hungry.
okay, I was at the joint that day. What? But listen good, I might have been there, but I still never met that kid.
Well, well.
I think Godot's enjoying this way
A little
too
too much.
Looks like an order just came in for another testimony.
Booyakasha.
Booyah!
Booyah!
Gongala!
Goongala! I'm this close to proving it was him. He did meet Glen Elk that day. He did put poison in his coffee. He must have.
Let me guess, it's about to die again?
It's an
Yeah.
old system.
I was supposed to meet with the kid at the restaurant that afternoon. When I opened the door to the joint, I saw one ugly scene. The guy was laid out over the table, stiff as concrete. I figured if the place wasn't hot already, it was gonna be, so I split. I heard the cop sirens on my way out, so I went straight back to my office.
I see. You didn't actually meet with him in the end, then. Well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Hold it! If I wait around here any longer, I ain't even gonna make the normal express. No more stupid questions.
Ha! No problem. Anytime Trike presses on you on anything irrelevant, I'll see he pays a penalty.
Whoa. Mr. Godot, that's my job!
Your job is to slam that little hammer of yours and call a guilty verdict.
Isn't that what happens on day 3?
So do it!
Yes, sir!
The Special Express ain't cheap, right? Just so yous know since yous payin'. Oh, man. Doesn't the rule of law mean anything around here?
Nope.
Ah, yes, that's right. See the kid in the restaurant there. When I opened the door to the joint, I saw one ugly scene. Where are the floor plans?
He wouldn't be able to
He
see
wouldn't
that.
have been able to see it.
Objection!
You're something of a loan collecting pro, aren't you, Mr. Tigre? No one escapes the tiger's clutches. Well, I'm something of a lie detecting pro. And no one escapes the Phoenix's clutches. I think it's time we got something straight.
What's this, Trite? A new line of irrelevant questioning?
These are the floor plans of the crime scene. You say you were standing at the entrance, Mr. Tigre. From there, your field of vision would have covered an area something like this?
Indeed, the witness would have had a clear view of the victim's seat.
Isn't that what I just said? I saw the back of the kid's head! Unfortunately for you, that is not possible. If the court would think back, you'll remember that between each of the tables is a tall partition.
Why, that's true.
Now look at the plans again. The truth is painfully obvious. From the entrance, the field of vision of any customer walking in ends here. So, from the entrance of Tribulations, you couldn't have seen the victim's seat. But you did see the victim that day, because you met with him.
Objection.
Wrong! Have you forgotten the old man's testimony already?
Yesterday.
Yesterday? Eh.
Yeah, but we already proved that the time was earlier.
The victim was alone at his table.
Objection!
But the defense just proved that point to be moot. The victim witnessed by Mr. Kudo was not Glen Elk, but a fake.
What?
In order to have Mr. Kudo falsely testify, the real killer posed as the victim he had just killed and acted out a charade.
With his hair and build, I don't think he can do it, though.
He was wearing a cap.
That will do. This trial has gone on long enough without the obvious question being answered. Who exactly was this real killer who impersonated the victim?
You're kidding, right, Judge?
What?
The judge, come on, Judge. You're not that clueless.
He's that dense. You say the killer murdered Glenn Elg and then impersonated his victim in a performance for Victor Kudo. In that case, Mr. Wright, reveal the identity of this criminal to the court.
Are you for real? Obviously, the killer is Furio Tigre. No one else could have done it.
What? Well, witness?
Now that's cute. Yous think you can pin this on the tiger? Maybe yous don't understand. The tiger is king of the jungle. So I dares you to say it again. Come on, you got the guts.
You can't threaten me, Mr. Tigre. The defense, go ahead and tell the witness, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright?
Sounds to me like it just be you, old man. Yous got guts, I'll give you that.
Mr. Wright, do not leave me to handle this alone.
We got Godot.
Oh, perhaps I can end this embarrassment.
I love how he's the only one not afraid.
It's Godot.
Mr. Godot. Another cup.
Let's just go back over Mr. Kudo's testimony one more time. The old man didn't see just the victim. Oh, no, no, no.
No.
The serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. There's no question about it. She very conspicuously put some white powder in there. Was the victim he saw the real victim or not? That doesn't matter. The fact remains he saw the accused put the poison into the coffee.
Yes, it was the waitress who poisoned the coffee.
Objection! Very impressive, Mr. Godot. Waiting for my absence to launch an attack.
Ha! Found your pen at last, Wright.
It was in my pocket. Ahem. But anyway, Mr. Kudo witnessed two people that day. He saw the victim, the supposed Mr. Glenn Elg, and the waitress from behind.
Yes, your point, Mr. Wright. I bet you the waitress was the cook.
I
think
think the conclusion is obvious. If this Glenn Elg was really the killer in disguise, then surely it's possible the waitress was also part of the show.
What? You mean the waitress was an imposter as well?
The defendant, Miss Bird, fell unconscious immediately after the incident. And someone used her fainting to hatch an elaborate plan to pin the murder on her.
Who on earth was it? Who was this waitress that Mr. Kudo witnessed?
It was Viola Cadaverini.
Who is this woman?
She's cadaverific.
Her name is Viola Cadaverini. She's an employee of Tender Lender. Who's making a big mistake? Do you know who Violetta's grandfather is? You'd better be going home in an armored truck tonight, if you know what I mean. Stop shaking, Nick.
Oh, now you're out from under the table, Maya.
Where was I? Yes, the defendant, Miss Bird, has stated the following. Well, when I took the coffee over to the victim's table, it's true there was another customer in the restaurant. She was sort of creepy. And she had a kind of cackling laugh.
Ooh.
There was just too many contradictions in this case. The second man at the victim's table, who nobody but Miss Bird seems to have seen. The earpiece worn by the victim in his left ear when that eardrum was ruptured. And the radio show he was supposedly listening to half an hour after it was over. There's only one logical explanation that clears up all of these contradictions. The whole incident took place twice. Once for real, and once for show. And Mr. Furio Tigre, the only person who could have committed the crime, is you!
Witness, what have you got to say?
That's cute.
Sorry.
You's alright. I could do with a guy like you around. What do you mean? Okay, I'm in on this game. I'm gonna have a jet to get me to my meeting now, but I'm gonna give yous one more thing to think about before I go. Something to think about? Yous got it all wrapped up nice, huh, right? But yous missed out one real important thing. But that can't be. I was in the joint that day, and I met that kid, too. But I couldn't have poisoned him, yous hear?
What? You really expect us to believe you now, Mr. Tigre? I think Godot knows exactly what he's getting at.
What a troublemaker.
Troublemaker?
Looks like we're gonna need another one for the road.
They're usually only 3 days, yeah?
One more steaming cup of hot testimony.
Yes, that's right, but every case in this game doesn't go past 2.
Indeed. Witness, you will explain yourself to the court.
I wasn't paying attention. I came over.
Did you die?
Yes.
Judge is still going.
I will give you one more chance to testify. Yep, baloney. You shouldn't even be giving... What happened that day at Très Bien between yourself and the victim? And yes, I know I butchered that. So.
I don't care.
Ties to the victim. Yeah, I loaned El
I
cash.
hate that more.
About $100,000. That day, we was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yes! I won! $500,000! He got lucky, you know? Real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she'd done, everything would be over.
Oi.
Now I see that the principal amount you loaned over to Mr. Elg was $50,000.
Yeah, well, you's got a vig to take into account. Interest builds up fast, you know? It's faster than fast. $100,000 is twice his principal.
And the repayment deadline was December 3rd, the day of incident in question. Don't trust you, dude.
Yeah, he was one lucky kid. Got that $500,000 just in time. So I ain't have no reason to kill the kid. And if I ain't got no motive, you ain't got no case. His motive? He has to have one, but what is it? What about the EMC bomber? Got no way to pay.
What?
Star Wars a solo story. Interested?
I want them to focus on characters that aren't the main cast of the original series for once.
Hold it!
Not like they have enough.
The waitress? You mean the girl with the glasses in the defendant's chair? Who else could I mean? She hadn't gotten in the way, things would have been bada bing, bada boom, over and done with. Maybe I should press a little hard on this. Ask about what Maggie did. Ask how... She did? What exactly are you implying the defendant did? How about you go ask Four Eyes about the $500,000 ticket? She wanted it so bad. She poisoned Elg's coffee. A likely theory. Your word hasn't held water lately, Mr. Tigre.
Let's not forget this witness was actually at the scene, Wright.
The law don't exactly agree with some of the deals I send down. I couldn't be there when the cops showed up, so I split.
What?
I see.
Oh, sorry. Now it's my turn. Your Honor, the witness's last few statements are worth a good 2 cups of coffee.
I concur, Mr. Godot. You will amend your testimony accordingly, witness.
So what? So that's what you's after, Mr. Phoenix Rat.
Hold it!
I asked him about what he saw. Damage your case. What do you mean things would have been over and done with? Are yous all there or what? I'm talking about the cash. I was there to get my 100,000 bucks back. That's all. I'm a businessman. It was all coming together before that waitress got in the way.
As far as I can tell from the witness's testimony, other than recouping his loan, Mr. Tigre had no motive for killing the victim. Well, Mr. Wright, are you happy with the testimony, or would you like it amended?
I'm not going to get anywhere with the testimony as it stands. Your Honor, the defense would like the testimony amended.
Very well. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect your recent statements, please.
Oh, you're wearing the new shirt. I didn't even notice.
Yeah. I was after the $100,000. I didn't have no other reason to kill the guy. This is where it comes into play.
MC Bomber. What's
And
that?
I'm just double checking on that. It's either that or the. It was either this or the sports paper would have worked too.
Objection!
Interesting. I actually like that there's multiple ways to get the answer across. So you just intended to get back the $100,000 Mr. Elg owed you, correct? I loaned the guy the cash, so that's my right. Unfortunately for Mr. Elg, I don't believe the $100,000 is what you were really after.
What are you getting at, Trite? What else would a moneylender be after other than money?
Oh, the moneylender was after money. But money in a totally different league. The kind of money that a single disc like this would fetch.
What
What is that?
A computer virus, Your
Dude, if
Honor.
you're gonna do the voice, drop the phone. If you're not gonna do the voice, carry on.
A virus called MC Bomber.
a computer virus? What does one of those do?
Computer virus is a program that wreaks havoc on the insides of a computer.
Wreaks havoc.
Wreaks
A
havoc.
computer. What does one of... Really?
Yeah.
What does one of those do? I could smack him right now.
I guess the beard isn't the only part of his honor that is from the Stone Age. I'll explain it to you later, Your Honor. Right now, this is the important part. A virus like MC Bomber would be worth several $1 million on the black market.
Several $1 million?
Lending money with no hope of ever seeing repayment would normally be bad for business. But in this case, the very fact that Glenn Elg had no way to repay the money is crucial.
What?
Glenn Elg was a programmer, a highly skilled programmer. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up in order to borrow the money.
Objection!
You're trying to suggest the witness's motive was to get hold of that program?
Exactly.
Almost there.
The witness may have poor fashion sense, but he is by no means an idiot, Trey. It's like so much easier to do that voice after I take a sip of coffee.
That explains a lot, eh?
Hold on, let me take another sip.
On.
A man like him could get his hands on $1 million without resorting to murder.
Of course he could. provided that he had time. But what if he had needed the money right then? When the pressure's on, the luxury of choice tends to disappear.
Oh, it's because he hit the girl.
It seems you have a logical conclusion for this theory, Mr. Wright. I mean, Violet?
Yeah.
Would you care to share it with us? He did mention something about her grandfather. Why did Mr. Tigray need money to the tune of $1 million?
I want to say the scooter might have been able to do that too. I'll bet you that's one of the options.
When asked for proof, present Viola's medical papers.
Just medical papers.
Just the medical papers.
Okay.
Because you need a very direct piece of evidence.
Yeah, fair enough.
In December of last year, you found yourself in need of a huge amount of money. About 6 months ago, you were involved in a traffic accident, weren't you? An accident involving a car and a scooter, in which a young woman was injured. She was taken to the hospital, where she underwent surgery. How much of this do you know? These medical papers document the treatment of the young woman in question. According to these, her operation cost $1 million. Da-na-na.
I mean, $1 billion.
$100 billion. And yet, when the payment was due last month, you somehow managed to pay it in full.
What, $1 million? A preposterous sum. Someone should sue these HMOs.
Whoa, Judge, I know they're not good people, but you don't have to call them names.
Actually, what does HMO stand for?
It's like something
Something medical organization?
Oh, okay.
But I was making a joke. Because if you say HMO really quickly...
HMO.
It's like homo or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was going at.
Hold on.
It wasn't just the medical bill, it was to pay off for granddaddy.
No one would pay a bill like that. It's so much easier!
Yeah.
Why?
Keep reading.
It's obvious.
I think it's because it's like making my throat warmer and wetter. It's just so much easier to do it.
Wetter.
Yeah, trust me, it is.
I know, but I'm just saying contact.
If the Medical Association got wind of it, the hospital would end up as dead as a morgue.
Yeah.
But Mr. Tigray had no choice but to pay. Because his very life depended on it.
He's so mad, he's like saying two voices at the same
Order!
time.
Order! You say his life depended on it, Mr. Wright?
Indeed it did. Simply because the injured woman was none other than Viola Cadaverini.
Did you say Cadaverini?
Bruto Cadaverini, mob boss in charge of all underworld activities in the city, and doting grandfather to his precious Violetta, also known as Viola Cadaverini.
Blah!
Your life was in danger unless you paid compensation to the boss, correct? It makes sense. You were desperate to acquire the $1 million Bruto Cadaverini demanded of you. So desperate, in fact, that you decided to sacrifice Glen Elg's life to pay your debt. On the day of the murder, Mr. Tigray's sole intention was to get his hands on this CD. Glen Elg had no way of paying back the $100,000, and Mr. Tigray knew it. But then a miracle happened. The kind that Mr. Tigray would prefer to say never happened. But he can't, and neither can I.
A lottery win?
Exactly. At the 11th hour, Mr. Elg won $500,000 on the lottery, which left Mr. Tigray with no way of getting his hands on the all-important CD. At least, no legitimate way.
He didn't need $500,000. He needed the full million. And he needed something that could pay it off immediately.
Yeah. So he resorted to illegitimate means.
That's crazy.
He murdered Glen Elg and then made his next move to frame Maggie Bird for the crime. Mr. Tigre posed as Glen Elg.
I'd like to argue that the old man should have noticed that his skin was orange!
Maybe, I don't
And then he had a scar across his eye.
Or maybe he just, like, used makeup or
He
something.
wore the thing over his left eye. That's the eye that's scarred.
Yeah, but the scar goes all the way
Guys,
and then down.
You're missing the point. He could have just used makeup to cover both of those things.
Yeah, it's true. He could have.
He's also bigger than Glen Elg.
While Viola Cadaverini
He's a
played the role
massive
of Miss
guy.
Bird.
I'd argue that the clothes that the guy was wearing were baggy enough to hide that.
Yeah, and plus he was sitting down.
Yeah.
And then they reenacted the whole thing in order to establish a witness. The witness being the one who we all heard testify yesterday, Mr. Victor Kudo.
Like I said, Trite, that's crazy. No one could pull off a stunt like that. For starters, there's no way a chef could have been kept in the dark about it.
Yeah, that's the point. But Mr. Armstrong was in on it from the very beginning. Have you forgotten already, Mr. Godot? Mr. Armstrong owed the witness money too. $500,000, in fact.
Probably wiped the slate clean when he agreed to work with him.
He had no choice but to go along with Mr. Tigre's plan.
Order! Order!
Yous put on a good show, Spiky. If yous want to stay alive in the loan shark business, you gotta be careful. You're saying I dressed up like that kid, created a witness, and framed someone? If I did something crazy like that, I'd leave a trail as bright as my shirt. I ain't dumb enough to do something sloppy like that. I agree.
Boy, Brendan.
Hello. You do? Despite your appearance, you are very careful. That's why you took one more precaution. One more trick that made sure Miss Bird had no way out. What?
You shut all the windows?
Another one, Mr. Wright.
Excuse me.
Interesting. Why don't you fill us all in, Trite? What was the trick you say Mr. Tigre performed to frame the accused?
Well, the only thing I can think of is putting the cyanide bottle in her apron.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what...
I mean, being her too didn't exactly.
Oh.
Dressed up as her.
Never mind.
Yeah, dressed up as her.
Well, there's that. What was the trick you say Mr. Tigre performed to frame the accused?
Yeah.
He was me in court.
Yeah.
What on earth is that? What an insult to think anyone could be fooled by such a childish imitation.
As some people would like to say, do your business or get off the toilet. You can't do both.
Consider yourself insulted, Your Honor. Mr. Tigre, you didn't just pose as the victim on the day in question. A month ago, in this very court, you posed as me.
What? That's...
The truth.
But the witness looks nothing like you, Mr. Wright.
Lies.
Although, now that I think about it, it was you, wasn't it? No doubt it was you standing in here this very court a mere month ago. Phoenix Wright, who put up the most disreputable, shabby defense I had ever seen.
Objection.
Can you prove that, Gramps? Prove the attorney who represented the accused here a month ago was this man? Are you prepared to take the stand and testify that it was him?
Hey. Oh, that was Tigre.
Forgive about it, yeah? I wouldn't do something like that, not me.
He is scared out of his mind.
You made a mistake, right? It was someone
Pussycat.
else, huh?
Pussycat.
Have you no pride, sir?
No, he doesn't.
No, he's not a lion. That's
Hi,
why.
Dee. Well, I can't see Discord right now. We have our stream thing in front of us.
This isn't a matter of pride. Besides, I've got the hair to be a lion. In case you didn't know, Trite, here in court we deal with people's lives.
Mr. Godot is right.
Your Honor? Speaking
Oh,
for myself.
Boy.
Speaking for myself, I am absolutely convinced. The attorney in question was the witness standing before me now. However, I preside over this court as a judge with the vested power to hand down a verdict. Someone in my position cannot be swayed by a memory without evidence to support it.
No!
You're a dunce.
No, he's right.
Defense has no further evidence. The court will now excuse the witness. Circumstances surrounding Mr. Tigre are dubious for sure, but they are not conclusive.
But we've come so far!
You say he impersonated Glenn Elg? You say he impersonated you. But none of that adds up to a murder charge. You don't have a shred of evidence that the witness poisoned the victim's coffee. Ah!
Please nail him before I leave.
Be gone, go thought.
Sucks to be you, right? Don't mess with the tiger, or you're gonna get mauled, you got that? All we managed to do here is chase him around a bit. So close to getting him to admit his own guilt.
Looks like I won't be needing to refill.
Yes, you will.
If I just had one more piece of evidence. One more piece of evidence, and maybe I could get Maggie off the hook.
The witness's cross-examination is over. You are free to go, Mr. Tigre. Come on. Oh!
Hold it! Hold it! Your Honor, sir! Wait!
The detective.
Detective Gumshoe? Sorry I took so long, pal. I staked everything on this. My badge, the works. So here it is. My heart's counting on this, too.
He's a decent guy. He's an idiot, but he's a decent guy. What is it, detective?
Isn't it obvious, pal? It's the final decisive piece of evidence.
What? What?
A bag that looks like a melon.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He brings in a bag like that almost every time he brings something in.
Now, the first time it was his jacket.
Sorry it took so long, pal, but I finally got the results from the lab.
Since he's not going to talk for a while, I'll be right back.
Whee! About the prints, pal, from this medicine bottle. Oh, so do you know who the prints belong to now? Do you think I'm some kind of hack detective? Of course I know.
Sure.
So tell us. They're the tigers, right? I knew it. You bet. Clear as crystal, all over the bottle. They're Furio Tigre's paw prints, all right. That's great. We got him now, Nick. What's wrong with you? You've hardly said a word since Detective Gumshoe got here. He's laid everything on the line for this, Nick. I know. Look, I'm sorry. This is kind of hard to say, but it really doesn't make any difference whose prints are on that bottle now. Huh? What? Why not? What we need to produce at this stage in the trial is irrefutable evidence that the tiger put poison in Glenn Elk's coffee. He's already admitted that he met the victim. The fact that his prints are on this bottle, that really doesn't make any difference now. Wait. Great. No matter how hard I try, I'm never of any use. Hey, don't be so hard on yourself. This was our last chance to help Maggie, and I've been working on some useless piece of evidence the whole time. It's alright. I'm a real loser. It's not breaking news to me, pal. Detective Gumshoe? Maggie? Been working on something for me? Sorry I let you down, Maggie. I know you didn't do it. And I'm a detective. We're supposed to be able to prove stuff like that. I'm really sorry. I'll get out of your hair now. Detective Gumshoe, wait! It's gone. Isn't there anything we can do now, Nick? I wish there was. Gumshoe worked so hard to get that evidence. Only there was some way we use it. There is. We have a plan. I have a plan.
Mr. Wright,
Yes, Your Honor?
I granted you a recess so you could prepare this decisive evidence you've discovered.
Yes.
Taking longer than I thought. First, it takes... I lose track of time and it takes so long that I burn the food. Now I'm like putting as much time as possible and it's not cooking.
Don't keep us all in suspense, Trite. Show us. Naturally. We can... Sorry. We can assume it's evidence that will actually stand up in court, can't we?
Think, Phoenix. Don't let Gumshoe's hard work go to waste. How much more of my time is yous gonna waste? I ain't been to no court before. But yous lawyers sure know how to blow things out of proportion.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna assume
No
something.
doubt, given the nature of the evidence, it will speak for itself.
What's the assumption?
Nevertheless, you will talk us through it, Mr. Wright.
Because I haven't gone through this part of the game yet, I'm going to assume the fact that only Tigre's fingerprints are all over the bottle means that the other guys, that the deceased fingerprints are on the cyanide bottle.
Oh, I don't know.
That's my only thought process
There's
here.
Maggie's fingerprints found in her apron pocket.
Don't worry, you'll see what happens. Nevertheless. Well, I know I can't prove anything new with this evidence.
Judge was talking.
Who's dying?
That's not the judge.
No, he was talking. You missed it.
I'm really backed into a corner here, but maybe if he thinks he's got me beat, he'll let his guard down.
You okay? You need water? Okay.
Ow.
Don't keep us waiting any longer, Mr. Wright. Present this final, decisive piece of evidence to the court.
This is the defense's final piece of evidence.
Isn't that the victim's...
Your Honor? Naturally, the court is already aware of the contents of this bottle. However, interesting new information has come to light. We have clearly identified some fingerprints on it. Fingerprints belonging to you, Mr. Tigre. What?
But, Mr.
Mr.
Wright,
Wright, what conclusion are you hoping to draw from this new information?
Everyone in here knows what this bottle contains. Except one man. One person in this courtroom should theoretically be in the dark. My prints are on that pansy-looking bottle? Is that what you're saying? Well, what the hell's in it anyway? A phony trial, a phony lawyer, and phony clues. Everything about this case has been phony. Seems like the perfect excuse for some phony evidence. Mr. Tigre, this is the decisive piece of evidence that will prove your guilt. Why? Because it contains...
Mr. Armstrong's oils, the victim's ear medicine, potassium cyanide.
This bottle contains potassium cyanide.
Potassium cyanide?
The poison used to murder Mr. Elg, Your Honor. The victim's killer used this very bottle. And on this bottle, Mr. Tigre, we found your fingerprints. Well, how do you explain that? You'd make a good clown, you know that? What?
No.
Yous ain't never gonna get this to stick. Yous just making me laugh now. You think a cheap bluff like that's gonna fool the tiger? A bluff? I can see straight through you, Phoenix, right? That ain't the bottle with the cyanide in it. No, this is the bottle we found traces of the poison in. Don't mess with the tiger, or you're gonna get ripped to shreds.
You missed
The
me.
cyanide bottle was brown, And it was made of glass! How do you know that?
Yeah, you idiot.
That cheap piece of trash don't look nothing like it! Gotcha.
Godot's is like,
You are made
And
of
it-
stupid.
He literally
No,
just
he's
gave him more.
made of peanuts.
Yes. Yeah, so Brendan, yeah, he literally just gives himself away. Got him. At last. What? Why has everyone gone quiet? I said that bottle. This is the bottle you're referring to? Yeah, that's it. That's the bottle the cyanide was in. But yous ain't gonna find my prints on that bottle. Don't let that cozy looking suit fool you people. That lawyer's just playing games.
You dingus.
Tell him, Mr. Prosecutor. Tell that guy where to go.
You still haven't figured it out.
He's an
Don't
idiot.
you realize what you just said?
What I said? What did I just say? You were summoned to this court for the first time earlier today. If you really had nothing to do with the murder, you shouldn't have known all the little details. For instance, you shouldn't have known what kind of bottle the potassium cyanide was in. But just now, you slipped up in front of every single person in this courtroom. You described the exact bottle used by the killer to hold the poison.
good night.
You just don't know who you's messing with. I'm the Tiger. I control millions of dollars on the black market. You think I'm gonna let some jumped up suit get the better of me? Sure, the last piece of evidence was phony. But that's just what you deserve. A phony trial with a phony lawyer? It was all played out by you, the biggest phony of all.
It's over 9,000!
I thought he was going Super Saiyan Blue.
Actually, he's
He's
going
red.
Super Saiyan White.
No, he's going Super Saiyan Blue. He's red.
No, look at the next screen.
Oh.
Did he just knock the power out?
What's going on?
It looked...
It looks like a blackout.
Ah!
Well done, trite.
Just Phoenix's eyes.
I saved my 17th cup of coffee just for you. Savor it. While you watch the police restrain your prey.
Phoenix, I think you broke him.
I love Phoenix's reaction though. Godot's is like,
This is not the first time, by the way.
Yeah.
every time Phoenix wins a case, Godot does that to him.
No, not every time.
Mr. Wright, you caught a tiger by his toe, but if this one hollers, he won't be let go.
Yeah.
He
Now then,
technically
how
already
are things
has
going
one.
with Mr. Tigre, Mr. Godot?
He is being arrested on suspicion of the murder of Glenn L, Your
Did you
Honor.
have to deal with his trial, by the way?
No.
Fortunately for us, we managed to rectify a very grave error. You're an idiot! That's what it is. Miss Bird was found guilty in the absence of a genuine defense attorney.
Yes, she was.
And in the absence of a genuine evidence. But the tiger made one mistake.
Indeed. He very nearly got away with everything if it wasn't for that one slip of the tongue.
Actually, he made several, but
Furio-
nobody was paying attention.
Yeah, Furio Tigre is a truly frightening criminal. He's also a dead man.
Ah. The truly frightening one is that defense attorney over there.
Godot. Well, I am now in a position to deliver my verdict. This court finds the defendant, Maggie Bird, not guilty.
Hooray! Hooray!
Man, who's killing all of those grunts upstairs?
That is all. This court is adjourned. This court is adjourned. And now I'm heading home. So,
Bye, Joker.
Or, you know, Gruntilda.
That was more was what I was aiming for was
Mr. Wright, I'm at a loss of words. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Mackie.
I was so mad when Mr. Wright landed me in all that
Thanks for the
trouble a month ago.
compliment.
But now I feel like I can forgive him.
Saying it's
Hey, that wasn't me, Maggie. That was the tiger.
Look, Nick, in the doorway.
Detective Gumshoe. Oh, guess I'll be heading off then. See you around, pal. Wait.
We'll be picking up.
Detective Gumshoe. Oh yeah. Congratulations, Maggie. Thanks. I knew you were innocent all along.
I'm out.
Why didn't you say that in your testimony then? Huh?
Okay.
Oh, well, I was...
Good night.
Well, guess I'll be heading off then. See you around.
Ah, damn it, Gumshoe.
That was you're doing.
Be a man.
Wait up, detective.
No, you slipped and hit me in the wrist.
You just ran off.
Maggie, why are you being so hard on him?
On Thursday.
See
He
ya.
busted his butt for you. It's thanks to him that we got the medication bottle.
That wasn't even of any use.
But
It's only because Mr. Wright used it so cleverly. Detective Gumshoe was just running around in circles. Poor guy. Looks like she still isn't ready to forgive him.
can't you put in a good word for him, Nick?
Yeah, Maya's right. I should help Gumshoe out. It's clear he needs it. Maggie. You know, Detective Gumshoe's been really worried about you through all of this. I wanted to believe that, sir. But on that first day of the trial, he practically gave the judge a free pass to lock me up. He didn't have any choice, Maggie. He's a detective. He has to report the facts. He doubted me. That's why he thought I might have done it. I've got to prove to her that Gumshoe really cares about her.
Sausages!
I know. I'll give her a little present to celebrate their victory.
Sausages!
How bad do you think they've gotten?
Here you are. A present to celebrate your freedom. That's a present from Detective Gumshoe, made with a ton of love.
He said you lost weight and he was worried about you.
Detective Gumshoe? I actually really liked weenies, you know?
Did you guys hear that? I'm pretty hungry myself, you know.
Yeah, the trial dragged on a bit today, didn't it? Is it okay if I eat this now?
So, how is it, Maggie?
It's really good. So the case of phony versus genuine comes to an end. The false allegations surrounding Maggie have all been cleared up. And who knows? Maybe a whole new chapter of her life is about to start. And we'll never get to see it in the Phoenix Wright games.
Wait.
We'll get to see it in the Miles Edgeworth games, though.
Those never got released.
The first one
The
did.
first one did, yeah.
The second one, good luck finding a translation on that. Ew.
Brand new episode has been added. Turnabout Beginnings.
Okay, how much time?
It's 7:12.
We've been at this for 2 hours, though.
Yeah, so we're gonna stop here.
Yeah. Alright, folks, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with Super Mario Odyssey! With Tyrannosaurus